acting straight. It's like the scenes wrong way.
My name is Paul James. I host this news
and a golden angel award ceremony.
Hello, my dear folks, my lovely audience. Welcome to the East West Show, the show talking about good or right, the show talking about the truth, nothing but the truth, the naked truth. Exclusively sponsored by Wolfers. A prominent life must be matched with the palace-grade jewelries. Wolfers, the Belgian royal family designated brand of jewelries with 400 years of glorious history and hand-forged by 10 generations of the master craftsman, a testimony to the spectacular, a share of the royal glory. Wolfers, the palace-grade jewelry. So that starts the show. Today we're talking about a long hanging piece of cloud over almost all over the world. That is the Ethiopian and the Malaysian, the Indonesian air accident. The two crashes, one another within 5 months, really tells something. At the news level, news perspective, we let it pass because everything worthy to be talked about has been talked about. So the next layer will be our concern of the families, our sympathy, our condolences, our heartbreaking to the ones who suffered the last moment finally have lost their lives. So altogether we're talking about one big issue, that is life is never money can buy. So that's the subject for today. With me is my dear friend, the eminent attorney at law, Mr. Ben Lee. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, Shen Daifeng, and it's an honor to be here.
All right. Mr. Ben Lee is one of the super attorneys of California. That's the good part. The bad part is that he is too busy to be available. So I have tried about 2 or 3, 4 weeks to chase after him until I could finally schedule a show. So that is the moment you are watching now. So please cherish it.
Well, I found it's great to be here, and also feel like you said your show is about the truth, nothing but the truth. I feel like I come to the trial and
we don't
be a witness.
We don't bull around.
Okay,
we
that's
do
great.
nothing but the naked truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
The naked truth is that with the two crashes, you're talking about all of a sudden within the blink of a second, 346 lives were killed.
Evaporates.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Evaporated. Mm-hmm. You do not even find a corpse, no remains, nothing. Boom, it is in there.
True.
So, and imagine each single life of them during the last moment. Mm-hmm. What kind of a devastating situation that was, right? Yeah. To suffer that before the death and to finally die, that's one part. Life is lost.
Yeah.
And then we're talking about our heartbreaking, our condolences, our everything. Attorneys sometimes were understood as the cold blood type of animals, right?
Well, then trust me, lawyers are human beings too.
You are, right? So I would like to hear the cold blood kind of animals feel, how they feel, how you feel for this kind of disasters, please.
Yeah, first of all, as I said, the lawyers, we are human beings too. So we have hearts. And first of all, our condolences to all the families who lost their loved ones. So that's the first important thing. Second is how to, we find the reason, what caused this. And what caused this huge damage to all the 300 some families. This is something as a lawyer we have to think about. And also as a responsible citizen of this world, we have to think about what we should do to bring the justice back to the families and what caused it. I think the first things I was thinking, is that when the companies become like a monopoly, Okay, in the whole world right now, which are the two major ones?
Oh yeah. Airbus,
Okay. Airbus and Boeing,
and Boeing,
right?
yeah.
Because that becomes such a mega company. After it becomes such a huge companies, they're dominating the market. So
Yeah.
once they do that, sometimes is that during the process of each airplane has millions of parts. So the procedure to make sure the airplane is safe is so important. I think that the audience probably have read from the newspapers, have seen from TVs, what caused all these the people, the software, for example, which caused these problems.
All
but
right.
if you look at that, you just feel like these big companies, they still lack in terms of supervising, and in terms of the safekeeping procedure. That's so lack of.
Okay, thank you very much for that perspective. That's very universal. However, I would like to find out deeper within the law perspective. I know as a manufacturer, I have to be held accountable and responsible for
Yes.
my product quality, right?
Correct.
And it is a universal. All right. On this level, the laws hold different standards to certain manufacturers that is life related?
Oh, absolutely.
For example, if I'm talking about a quality control between Nike and the Reeboks, right? Of
Yes.
course, I have one standard. The standard is such that nobody dies from wearing a wrong pair of shoes. However, you do die flying a wrong aircrafts,
Sure.
right? So, do the laws have different standards, please?
The law doesn't have a different standard, but every the products you sell to the consumers, like what you said, the footwears, it has to be merchantable and fit for the consumer's use. Okay, this is the standard. But for the life-threatening products, life-endangering products like
Your
airplanes,
vaccine.
your
medication.
medication. You'll find that for example, why there's a special administration. For the medicine we call FDA. For the airplane we call FAA. What are they doing? Their job is to keep the standard very high.
Super
That's
high.
super high. Not like the general merchandise. Okay, then because if you just like a nutritional supplements, because no matter how much you eat or how much you take, it doesn't have a life-threatening threat. But thing like airplane, so the standard is the same. But if you have life endangering the products, when you're supervising the safety issue, it's more like administrative,
All
not
right,
like
okay.
legal issue. So that's why we formed this FAA and FDA to supervise the quality of the product.
Now that the failure of FAA in supervising the administration of Boeing,
Correct.
right? So my question, FAA is not a legal entity, am I right?
That's right. This is government entity.
Government entity.
It's independent contract, but it's supervised by
Independent
the
government entity. However,
Right.
is this supposed to be
Correct.
held accountable and responsible?
I think for this case, I think the three parties, one is the Boeing company itself. Second is FAA, and third is the company who built the parts, the software. Three companies, they're all jointly severally liable for these products,
All right,
which caused
okay.
the death for the two airplane passengers.
But it's very complicated. If we understand the mistake was made by Boeing's push for money in a quicker, faster way, that's one way to understand Boeing, right? Because we follow the money, we find the answer.
Sure.
With the FAA, it is a government entity. It's not supposed to follow money. Did it follow money or did it not follow money? Why they authorized the Boeing to to test their own procedures to be in charge of their own safety.
Well, yeah, I'm not inside of FAA, so I cannot tell you exactly what happens in the internal administrative procedures, why they let this go and give the green lights to let the software to be installed on the airplane. But there's one thing I think I have to share with the audience, which is, in America, the government is a small government, big public. If you can see, all the government entities in U.S. Compared with China is very small. Okay, for example, give you an example. Sheriff Department in L.A. supposed to be the largest in the entire United States.
Yes,
we have about 8,000, a little bit more, close to 9,000 sheriff.
Yes, sheriff on duty. If you count everybody, including those in the office, you're talking about 16,000. That I talked to them. Oh, by the way, let's take a short moment now. We come back to go deeper. With me today is my dear friend, the eminent lawyer, Mr. Ben Lee at law. We're talking about the subject, life is never money can buy. This show is exclusively sponsored by Wolfers, the testimony of the spectacular and a share of the royal glory. We will be right back, please.
Everything is expected. It's like it seems wrong way.
My name is Paul James. I host this news.
And a golden angel award ceremony.
Hello, dear friends, lovely audience. Welcome back to the East West Show, the show talking about right or wrong, the show talking about nothing but the truth, the naked truth. Exclusively sponsored by Wolfers. Wolfers says the problem in life must be matched with the palace-grade jewelries. Wolfers, the Belgian royal family designated the brand of jewelries with 400 years of glorious history, and that is forged by 10 generations of the master craftsman, must be the testimony to the spectacular, a share of the royal family. Wolfers, the palace-grade artistic jewelry. Now, continues with the show. With me today is my dear friend, Mr. Ben Lee, the eminent attorney of at law of Southern California, and who has been with so many of the cases, of the class cases, class action cases, so on and so forth. And I'm here to check with him about his opinion of the mastermath. Talking about mastermath, the heart still aches, right?
Absolutely,
so now, back to the point, talking about a government entity, FCC,
their liability,
SAA, government entity, their liability. Go ahead.
Let me complete my my answer to your question, which is, why in the United States government is usually small, okay, and we say about the LA Sheriff Department is a 9,000 on duty sheriff, but compared with that, when I talked with the police chief in Beijing, you know how many they have? 90,000 on duty police. 90,000 is in Beijing only, one city.
Okay.
So that tells you, the difference. So, and also I have there's some cases, even the life and death cases, because we talk about the subject. There's one case I've been handling right now. I talked with a certain city police department because this is kid I'm helping a friend. I usually don't do the wrongful death cases, but this case, one person, a student died. Okay, was hit by a car. It's a hit and run. And what happened is, I just said when the police report is going to be given to me. This is somebody died. You know what the detective's answer is? At least 6 months.
To work on a report on some death.
That tells you how it is.
Okay,
so,
all right, okay.
So talk about this kind of government. So sometimes they after a certain company or individual, for example, this instance is a company, becomes so big, they have shown in the history they have a good credit in terms of monitoring the quality. So they give them what we call the self-censorship. Okay, just like in Hollywood. Okay, you know the MPAA. Okay, the movies in China is censored by the government, but here in the United States, who's censoring them? Do you know?
Censor by
MPAA
themselves.
itself. They themselves they're censoring it. So MPAA is the organization formed by the American studios, all the major studios. Okay, they censor their own movies, and that's why they give the ratings of the films. Okay, you have R, rated R, PG-13,
PG-13, 16
and
or
the
17,
G and things like that, 17. The R, you know, why is that? Who give those? It's not given by the government.
I see.
It's given by their own, you know, the censorship body called the MPAA. Okay, so that's what it is. I think here probably the same thing. That's what I'm just assuming. You know, probably because the Boeing has such a long history of good credit, and they have shown the FAA they have done enough good to supervise the products. Maybe their supervision of the Boeing's you know the quality isn't that. You know,
I agree. I agree only with 50%, maybe less of what what you just stated. If it happens to be with the shoe industry, we can let the censorship go with the manufacturer to censor themselves, right?
True.
Hollywoods do not produce anything
Life and death.
All right? But the aircraft makers does, right?
True.
Now, nobody dies because dies of watching a wrong film, right? No. However, people die by using a wrong medication, wrong injection.
Right.
So, if FDA assigns a manufacturer to censor their own products as a medication or injection whatsoever, they have a big problem too.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. I think
Right?
you know, this is not like what I say. I disagree with you. This is what I'm assuming why they are giving more. FAA gives them more leeway to the Boeing company.
You're right.
To do the QC.
There is always a problem, Libin. If you can't find it, follow the money. Right?
I don't have evidence. I can't say that.
If later,
So
if later somebody finds a trail of money in the deal, though, somebody has to go to jail. Am I right?
Well, absolutely. If you have evidence to show
Yes.
that somebody in the FAA is going after the money because they were bribed or whatever, oh, definitely. This is a felony case.
Yeah. On the other hand, they have the lobby system. They're going on around money all year round. That's they call legal money, the legal part of the money. Even though dirty, it has a legal part of it. So the legal part of money. Still, I believe this thing is money related.
Well,
more or less.
Yeah, you can't say that, but I can't as a lawyer. If there's no evidence, I can't say that.
But you're kind of an evidence guy, all right? Evidence
I have
guy.
to look at the evidence.
Anyway,
without evidence, I cannot.
However,
make any,
do you think?
claim.
Do you think it is a good way to first be spearheaded with FAA rather than Boeing as a manufacturer?
I think
please.
you know, in the American legal system, when we file a lawsuit, we don't piecemeal the cases. Okay, we don't piecemeal though. If we can sue everybody, we sue everybody. So that's the theory in most of the cases. You know, for this one, if I were the counsel for the victims, I would sue Boeing, FAA, and also Ethiopia companies and the parts making companies, Rossmont. I would sue all of them. That's what I would do. Because in that case, then you know, because otherwise I have to file 4 lawsuits against different ones. That's too. That's confusing. And eventually, probably they will be merged into one anyway. So might as well from beginning just to file the lawsuit against all the parties.
I see.
Yeah.
And of course, FAA is the one that has supposed to be held responsible. In my understanding, the big chunk of it. Of course, as the manufacturer, Boeing, they have to face the money part in a big way. In a big way. Not only the lawsuit itself in terms of money, but the the lesson ordering,
Right.
and the cancellation, the grounding, everything all together, right? So how do you see the future?
For this lawsuit, or for
For
this
the lawsuit and
I'm
for
sure,
Boeing, both.
I'm sure the victims of the of the two crashes, the airplane crashes, will follow lawsuit against at least the Boeing and FAA for sure. And sometimes, if I were them, as I told you, I probably would file a lawsuit against all of them. And if possible, maybe we can do a class action lawsuit because there are more than 300 victims. The facts are the same, and the law is the same about the gross negligence. So everything should be the same. So maybe we should certify everything into a class action lawsuit. It all depends. You can also file the lawsuit independently, representing one family, or several families. It's not a problem.
In other
I'm sure
words,
this will be forthcoming for sure.
In other words, this Ethiopian airline crash could lead to 157 cases, or could end up in one case of class
or
action.
several cases.
Or several, right?
Yeah.
Either way.
Yeah.
Either way is handled by with the same procedure, with the same governing laws. Am I right?
Correct. But then if it's a class action lawsuit, you have to have the court to approve, to certify it. We call certify it as a class action lawsuit. Okay. If
And
you want
the-
certified as a class action lawsuit, then you can bring all the other victims into it. I mean, they have the choice to bring to join the lawsuit, or they can file their independent lawsuit.
All right. There are, obviously others involved, right?
Right.
For example, if I'm one of the families, I would say I don't care who manufactured the aircraft. I just sue the airliners. The airline company,
Yes.
the Ethiopian Airlines,
Right.
And I sue the government of Ethiopia. So, all right. So let's take a short moment out. We come back. We find out. Can we find out, please, from that perspective, that layer of the onion, though, is there anything pursuable?
Absolutely.
So stay with us. We'll be right back. So this show is sponsored by Wolfers, testimony to the spectacular, a share of the royal glory. We'll be right back, please.
Senator
Everything
stands
is
we have
expected.
to continue to work
It's
on
like
it
the
now.
same John Wayne.
So
So
my name is Paul James. I host English News here in Florida.
And a golden angel award ceremony.
Hello, dear friends, lovely audience. Welcome back to the show. Jack Chow on the East West Show. The show talking about right or wrong. The show talking about noble but the truth. Nothing but the truth, the naked truth. Today the subject is about the Ethiopian airline crash and the Indonesian airline crash. This show is exclusively sponsored by Wolfers. Wolfers, a prominent life must be matched with the palace-grade jewelries. Wolfers, the Belgium royal family designated a brand of jewelries with 400 years of glorious history and 10 generations of the master craftsman. A testimony to the spectacular share of the royal glory. Wolfers, the palace-grade artistic jewelry. So back to the show. Today we're talking about the air crash of Ethiopian lady and also another one before 5 months apart of Indonesian Lion Airlines. Today with me is my good friend, Mr. Ben Lee, attorney at law, talking about who the parties are to be sued, to be held responsible or accountable. And we all of a sudden found out if I had been a passenger on the Ethiopian airline, though, I would just go ahead and say, hey, I have a problem with the government. I have a problem with the airline, Ethiopian airline. I don't care who crafts the crafter, right? So does that mean that the airline, Ethiopian airline, could also be a defendant?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. If I were the passenger, the first party we have the direct contract with is the Ethiopian airline because I buy the ticket from you.
Yeah.
I paid for your fee and you give me the ticket, ticket plane. This is the contract, service contract we call it. So definitely, the Ethiopian airline was going to be the defendant. But the Ethiopian airline, if you sue the Ethiopian airline, the next thing the Ethiopian airline would do is to cross complain against the Boeing company, for sure. In the federal court, or I don't know whether it's going to be in state court or in federal. If it's in federal court, most likely it's going to be in federal court. It's called a counterclaim against the Boeing airline. So no matter what, they're going to bring all the parties together. Ethiopian can also sue the counterclaim against the parts company against the FAA because they give the certifications and it's ready to fly, to take the passengers. So that definitely it's no doubt about it. The first defendant will be the Ethiopian airline, but those other.
However, the Ethiopian airline, even though they are innocent, they are responsible. Am I right?
Well, yeah. From the evidence we have seen so far, is the cause of the accident is the Boeing's defective products, the software. If that's the case, well, it doesn't mean to say the Ethiopian airline is not going to be sued because the victims, they probably cannot sue the Boeing directly because the contractual relationship is between the between the client, the victims, and also the Ethiopian airline.
All right.
So they have to sue them in order to bring in all the parties.
I see. Okay. Now let's put it this way. Okay. Let's fake a model in which that I owe you $1,000, right? And your son owes me $1,000.
All right. Okay.
All right. Now, and then another one, for example, my wife owes your son $1,000.
Okay.
Now you're suing me for the $1,000, right? So now this is case number one in which I fail. I accept my responsibility, pay you $1,000, and then I start my case with your son, right?
Yes.
So I'm as the plaintiff and his defendant, and it goes on from your son to my wife. Does it work in this kind of pattern, or some bigger boss say, "Hey, you guys all together. Okay, let's see what's happening. Who's who?" Like that.
Right.
So. Which is way?
I think this analogy is a little different because they're separate cases. The money you owe me and I lend it to you. That's one case. You and my son is a separate case. And my son to your wife.
To my wife.
These three cases are separate cases. But what do we look at the Ethiopian airline crash case? It's the same case. That's why it's different. Over there you have three contracts. Here, I have only one contract. I'm with Ethiopian airline, and the Ethiopian airline, maybe you can sue on separate causes of action. The direct one is I sue the Ethiopian airline company.
Okay.
But then, I probably can sue the Boeing and all the parts and FAA for breach of warranties because you certify I relied on the warranties. You said, this airplane is safe and sound.
Okay.
I can fly it without any problem. But now you breached it. It caused my family member's death. Therefore, I can sue you for a breach of warranty.
There's a big difference. If you're talking about one life, two lives, that's okay.
Right.
You're talking about 157 lives altogether. The Ethiopian airline put its total worth. It will not be enough to pay.
Correct.
So that lawsuit crashes Ethiopian airline first before they can even sue Boeing.
Well,
you see my point?
Not necessarily. If I'm representing the victims, I sue everybody together.
So that's why I'm talking about there must be a bigger boss to see who sees the overall.
That's the court.
yeah. Who see the overall? Say, hey, okay, you guys all come to me. Let's see who is who did what.
Yeah.
Or otherwise, you say you close down Ethiopian airline to pay 157 lives. I believe that will not even be enough.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's no airline on earth to exist to sue Boeing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the problem.
Well, they can still sue. I told you the procedures, I can sue all of them together, or I can sue Ethiopian Airline and let them counterclaim against all the other defendants.
I see what you mean.
Either way is fine.
What you
no
mean?
problem.
Yeah.
But to save time and to be more efficient, I probably would sue everybody together. I can set up different causes of actions to sue all of them.
Or even I happen to be one of the family. I'll sue Ethiopian Airline, I'll sue Boeing, I'll sue the contractors, I'll sue FAA.
Correct.
Everybody.
Correct.
That will bring the big pot all together.
And then I'll always sue them, ask them if they join is severally liable for my damages. So in the American legal field, we have a saying, like a deep pocket theory. Who has the money?
Who has the biggest money? All right.
So they're joining severally liable, so that maybe Boeing can pay more. But eventually, at the end, probably Boeing's going to pay for everything, and then they put all the probably Boeing's going to pay for most of it.
Just now you showed me the case of
not
Christopher,
the Ethiopian,
Christopher law firm.
Correct. I think there's one family hired Chicago law firm right now to sue, just like what I said, that he's suing he's suing all the entities involved in this.
All entities.
That's the
one of Ethiopian, one of the Indonesian.
This is Ethiopian airline.
One of Ethiopian.
The Clifford law firm. It's a law firm, personal injury law firm in Chicago. They are very famous for representing the victims, suing big companies for major airline accidents.
I see. Correct. All right, my dear friends, and that's why I always promote this concept. When you have a problem, always ask the professionals, because they're the one. They get the money paid to have the knowledge. Otherwise, right? So otherwise, it will be on your own speculation. Sometimes you're wrong. I believe to listen to them, you will get your, of course, what happened had happened, even tragedy in the past already. If you will learn anything positive from the tragedy, though, well, those folks did not die nothing for, right? So, with my dear friend Bin Lee, we got some of the questions answered. Let's take a very short break. When we come back, we'll find out among the victims, there were eight Chinese riders on the aircraft. Correct. So we'll see what they want to do, what they can do. My dear friend, that concludes this segment. We'll be right back. This show is exclusively sponsored by Wolfers. Testimonies to the spectacular and the share of the royal glory. We'll be right back, please.
Everything perspective is straight. It's like the same John Wayne.
My name is Paul James. I host this news.
And a golden angel award ceremony.
Hello, dear friends, lovely audience. Welcome back to the show, the East West Show. The show talking about right or wrong, the show talking about the truth, nothing but the truth. Exclusively sponsored by Wolfers. Wolfers call our life a prominent life, and prominent life must be matched with the palace-grade jewelries. Wolfers, the Belgian royal family designated brand of jewelries with 400 years of glorious history and hand-forged by 10 generations of the master craftsmen, a testimony to the spectacular and the share of the royal glory. Wolfers, the palace-grade artistic jewelry. Back to the show. With my friend Bin Lee, attorney at law, we're trying to answer some of the questions that I have collected in my email sent by my audience. To say, if you do a show with Mr. Li Bin called, by the way, the schedule was announced a long time ago. Right?
Sorry about that.
Please ask on behalf.
Okay.
So there had been 8 passengers of Chinese passengers from PR China were on the airplane, right? Correct. Of course, evidently they did not make it. They were 8 of the victims, right? So suppose if their families are watching us, what's your word to them, and what do you recommend them to do?
Well, first of all, the condolences to their families too, and you cannot bring back the lives of your loved ones, but at least there's one thing you can do is to seek the damages you suffered because the loss of your loved ones, that's a huge damage. I think you should bring lawsuit against the Boeing and all these people who are grossly negligent in causing this accidents. These are not supposed to happen. Had not been the misfunctioning of the software, and the airplane is not going to crash. If the airplane is not going to crash, then these victims they would not have died. That's the bottom line. So we need to, one thing is to at least to, bring back some justice, even if the monies cannot resurrect their lives. But at least they bring some somehow the
some kind of compensation.
Exactly, that's
right?
important. Second is to make sure that these parties they'll be held accountable, and also they're going to be more responsible for the products. Not just treating the consumers just as a piece of the worthless kind of entity of merchandise. It doesn't work that way.
On the other hand, the greater it hurts the manufacturer, the deeper the memories, the classes, the memories are learned.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
They learned. They will learn for 100 years, 200 years. They will never forget that they were hurt this much by the lawsuit.
Oh, absolutely. So
right?
that's why these families need to get together and hire the lawyers in the United States to seek justice for them. I think that's the first thing they need to do. And maybe they should, as I said, all the victims in this case, they probably, one thing is to do a class action lawsuit because it's more than in California 35 or in the other states at least 40. Victims.
You're right.
The same fact or same law. You can easily certify them as one class action.
And also even in the United States, different states have different laws, right?
Oh yeah. This is like negligence. We call that tort cases. It's all state law. It's not federal law. So therefore, each state is different.
I see. We understand, my audiences, there is no way money can buy a life. However, when what worst had happened, we try to minimize, to assuage the mind of the ones who lost their loved ones, right?
Correct.
So,
yes.
With some kind of a compensation to make his or her life a little easier, right? So that's the best money can do.
Correct.
Now, in actually doing so, though, you can't say those fake words. Those are words that do not mean XYZ numbers. Do you have a certain way of calculating? For example, if I die, right? If I die, I'm one of one of them, right? How much? In other words, how much am I worth?
Oh, okay. That's a very good question. I'm sure that many audiences
I'm just getting curious.
Yeah.
I know.
Absolutely.
I know. I'm worthless. I'm not worth. I'm moneyless. For about that, right?
Right.
So, but it comes down to point. Nobody can say to my wife, "Hey, your husband is timeless. He is moneyless." Right?
Correct.
Must be.
Oh yeah. It's a very good question. There's no specific answer. There's no the exact number, but there's a certain way, certain factors, that the jury will consider when they make the decisions. First of all is your life expectancy. If a teenager, if you are 20-year-old, and compared with you, if you are your passengers like 80 years old or 90 years old, that's a big difference. Okay, your life expectancy is by nature itself is completely different. If you're 90, your life expectancy is very, very limited. Therefore, your damage will be very limited too.
I see.
Second, you can consider is any cancer or the fatal diseases you're having. That we call the pre-existing conditions. If you have those, that would be a factor. If not, then your life expectancy is long. Okay, then your damage will be
the life expectancy is even shortened with the existing conditions.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
absolutely.
and then what?
And also the pain and sufferings. For example, you have kids, family. You have 2 kids with a wife.
I have, for example, I have a 2-year-old.
Correct.
Right?
Okay. Yes.
The 2-year-old lost a father forever.
Absolutely.
So that is considered another part.
Another factor in making the
So my wife has taken all the hardship to bringing him
the
up.
loss of the loved ones. Absolutely.
So
the hardship and pain and sufferings. We got the pain and sufferings.
And emotional loss.
Exactly. That's
everything.
The pain and sufferings.
So all those, they have certain numbers to hold on.
Correct. Absolutely.
Or example cases.
Correct. So if this, so in that case, so the damage could be very big, millions of dollars.
Millions of dollars per, right?
Per person. Correct.
Per person.
Yes.
And you're talking about 46 of them in 2 cases, though. And that's quite substantial.
What do you mean 46?
No, altogether.
Yeah.
And then
each victim, they can bring the cause of action.
All together, there are 346 passengers died in the 2 accidents.
Correct. Yes.
All due to Boeing.
Yes.
So Boeing at least has to hand over that kind of money.
Correct.
Am I right?
Correct. Yeah.
And what do we learn from it, please? Is there anything we can learn from it?
So definitely. So the first is those big companies, as a consumer for using them. So we need to tell them, we need to have ways of telling them that what the problems for the products. Second is we can we can write complaint to the FAA, telling them, what part you're failing in supervising the companies from manufacturing the defective products. So and for the consumer ourselves, we need to be very cautionary. We need to watch very carefully. If we see certain accident happen to certain types of airplanes, maybe the wise thing to do is do not take that type of airplane. You see what I mean? So for example, this time is a Boeing 737 MAX. So maybe when you hear the Indonesian airline accident, so next time when you take the airplane, do not take the same type of airplane.
Even when the MAX reflying, you try to avoid it.
Yeah, you try to avoid it.
You try to avoid it.
I wouldn't.
Because you're scared, right?
Correct.
You're scared.
I myself, my dad is an airplane engineer himself.
Okay.
So I know, for example, the Boeing and Airbus, for example, I personally, it's my personal. It's just it's not like Airbus doesn't pay me to say that, but it's my personal feeling. The engines of the Airbus is much quieter, much smoother than the Boeing's engine. So I would prefer to take the Airbus plane than the Boeing plane.
All right, very good.
That's my personal opinion. There's nothing to do with the legal thing. So
now we are all blowing up, right? Right. When we see 2 crash in less than 5 months, though.
Correct.
And that probably is enough, right? And maybe it's time to try some buses. I don't know. I don't know.
Try the bus?
Yeah. Time to try some buses, I don't know. But
the best way to ride bicycles.
yeah, bicycle. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for sharing. We're a little over time, but I enjoyed chatting with you. This show is exclusively sponsored by Wolfers. Wolfers, a testimony to spectacular and a share of royal glory. Until next time, goodbye.